Okay, good afternoon. The date is July 28, 2025, and the time is 5:30 p.m. I hereby call to order the special meeting of the City Council of City of Groveland, Florida. Jenny, would you please take the roll?
Yes. Mayor Keith Kehoe.
Here.
Vice Mayor Barbara Gaines.
Here.
Councilmember Amy Jo Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Judith Fike.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Radzik.
Here.
City Manager Mike Hine. Here. City Attorney Anita Gerasi Carver. Here. Sergeant at Arms Chief Sean Ramsey. City Clerk Virginia Wright here.
We have a quorum. Okay, first on the agenda, item 1, consideration of approval ordinance 2025-8, FY 2024-25 mid-year budget amendment, first reading. Jenny?
Consideration of approval, ordinance 2025-8, FY 2024-2025, mid-year budget amendment, first reading. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Groveland, Florida, pursuant to Section 5.03C of the City of Groveland Charter, amending the budget for the 2025-2024 fiscal year by increasing and/or decreasing various line items received and incurred after the original budget was approved, providing for scrivener's errors, conflict, severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept 2025-8?
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance 2025-8.
Do I have a second? Did I hear a second?
Yes, I did
We have
second.
a second. Okay, discussion on 2025-8.
Mayor, can we get a presentation from finance?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'd be glad to give a brief overview. Thank you for having a special meeting and considering the mid-year budget amendment. As is described in the text with the ordinance, this is simply a housekeeping kind of mid-year readjustment because after the budget is approved, there's unrecognized or unexpected revenues as well as unexpected expenses. This mid-year budget adjustment is mainly driven by a couple of things. One is the consensus or direction from the mayor and council that they wanted to pay cash as opposed to finance a fire truck. Second, there was some unexpected expenses from the hurricane, mostly involving debris removal. There was some litigation settlement, and there were some adjustments in the organization chart. Specifically, I added a utility billing clerk several months ago to deal with the influx of customer concerns, and we moved the procurement services from under my department to under finance. On the revenue side, there were some significant increases in revenue. One was the $2 million appropriation recently from the state legislature toward the Sampy Road wastewater treatment plant. There was unanticipated revenue from the sale of right-of-way or property conveyed to FDOT to facilitate the State Route 50 realignment project. And there were increases in building fees from activity throughout the community. And that is what is in the mid-year budget adjustment, along with some various other things. And happy belated birthday, April.
Is there a presentation from finance?
No, Mr. Mayor.
None. Okay, back to, do we have any comments?
I have
Amy Jo?
comments. So with this ordinance, we've pulled out the raises for our fire admin. I want to make sure that we pull that to a resolution. I think it needs to be put on the next agenda. I feel like it should be included this, and I don't think I can vote for it without that. And normally I'm kind of quick, but I actually wrote down what I wanted to say here because it was that important to me. So I feel the proposed raises for our fire department's administrative staff needs to be included in the mid-year budget adjustment. I believe it's not only fair, but also necessary. First, let's talk numbers. Our neighboring cities, Claremont, Leesburg, and Winter Garden, are all paying significantly more for similar fire administration roles. We're talking about a difference of $20,000 or more annually. If we want to stay competitive and retain the kind of talent that keeps our city safe and continues moving us forward, we need to step up and close that gap. It's not just about matching salaries, though. It's about recognizing what those 5 men do for us every single day. They wear more hats than most. They're managing logistics, writing grants, coordinating training, maintaining compliance, and planning emergency response strategies. And they're doing it all with fewer resources than the larger departments that surround us. Thanks to their dedication, our ISO rating has improved, which directly affects what our residents and businesses pay in insurance premiums. That's a real and measurable benefit to every household and business in Groveland. It's a clear sign that the people behind the scenes are doing exceptional work. However, if we don't invest in them, we risk losing them. And make no mistake about it, if we don't invest in them, they should leave. They should go where their talents are appreciated and compensated appropriately. Keep in mind that replacing experienced personnel isn't just hard, it's also very expensive. Recruiting, hiring, onboarding, and training can all cost tens of thousands of dollars. And not to mention that in order to attract the talent, that compensation is gonna have to increase anyway. Because if that compensation is not competitive, you risk creating a revolving door. There is also no guarantee that the next person will have the same passion, the same knowledge, or the same love for our city. Because that's what it really comes down to. These men give their heart and soul to Groveland. This isn't just a job, it's a calling. They work long hours, they answer the phone at all hours, they fight every day to make this department stronger, and they've done a good job. They do all this not for recognition, but because they care deeply about our community. They would never ask me to sit up here and fight for them, but they deserve nothing less, and they deserve far more than my words. We need to show them that we care too. We need to do what's right and make sure their pay reflects the value they bring to this city. I don't have the audacity to tell them that they're not worth a raise after years of being put on the back burner to ensure that their guys are taken care of. They did that because that's what leaders do. They ensure their staff is treated fairly and put others before themselves. So we need to show them that our city has good leaders too, and not just leaders that talk public safety while they're campaigning. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, thank you. After we do this, you can enter a motion for your resolution. Ms. Fike?
I'm quite comfortable with moving forward with this ordinance. We've had so many meetings with all of the departments and sliced and diced this I don't know how many times and looked at all and reviewed it all. And then the final meeting with everybody. So I seconded it. I'm ready to move to a vote, though I know we still have discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Radzik?
Hey, Amy Jo, excellent points.
Yes.
Great comments. Thank you. Because you're spot on. Our fire, our police is the backbone to the city. They're the ones that are waiting for a phone call or the alarm to go off at 2 in the morning and are at our houses. And to not give them a working wage when other cities around us are ready to poach, and they have, is a travesty. So last year, we had a fund balance budget at 5.5 millage. It's not a line item, it is a fund balance. When we said 5.5, we said, I'm making it up, $55 million in total. It can be moved around, not necessarily, doesn't need to come to us. It can be moved around by Mr. Hine. Since it's revenue neutral, it's expense neutral, it's just moving money around from one section to the next. It's net zero. I'm very, very passionate about making sure that our men and women are compensated. And I would like to amend my motion not to wait for a resolution. I would like to see it as part of this amendment now.
Second that.
And that is my motion, and I don't know who made the second, but unless Mr. Hine tells us that's something that we can't be done, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Carroll, Councilmember Radzik, I appreciate those comments and certainly appreciate that support and have that sentiment. As you'll recall, when I was on vacation, this item came before you and there was some concern over the personnel adjustments. Councilman Radzik is correct that I didn't necessarily need approval from the mayor and council to move forward with those, and those specifically involved, and Councilwoman Fike's correct, those were items that were discussed during the workshops throughout the course of the year. One was an IT reorganization. One was the fire admin adjustments, so those would be for the non-contract covered employees in the fire department and the upper administration. There was a reorganization proposed in the Public Works Department, which was to assist with the workflow coordinator. That was mishandled in representation by me and the director, and I think some people got wrapped around the axle on that one. And then there was an adjustment in finance for the budget manager. So those were the ones that were taken out from the time that you previously considered the budget amendment till today. I'll defer to Anita on the legal aspects, but I think you have a variety of options. One is you could approve the amendment with the reorganizations or the salary adjustments as proposed. And again, Councilwoman Carroll is correct. It is under 20,000. It was like 18,000 and change from today through the end of the fiscal year. But know that that then would be carried forward into next year's operating. Similarly, any other adjustments and reorganizations would. So you could approve it tonight, and you could approve any of that menu. You could ask us to come back at the next council meeting, and historically, I think we've had some resolutions authorizing mid-year adjustments or reflections, especially police in mid-year. Or you could direct us to incorporate that in the new budget under your next item or currently. I think that covers the continuum of options.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Could you just clarify for me, the workshops we had was on the mid-year or the next year's budget?
Next year.
Next year. So, and that's where we talked about the whole expansion and raise increase, right? This is the mid-year, and we didn't have a workshop on the mid-year, correct?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, during each of those presentations, they talked about desires to either reorganize or adjust, and I believe the fire specifically talked about a mid-year adjustment and then a greater adjustment in the following fiscal year.
Excuse me, but the issue during that conversation, I think when we talked about the mid-year, was that we were front-end loading the increases in headcount and the increases in salaries that we were just, we hadn't approved in the budget for next year, correct?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm sorry I didn't have the benefit of the discussion when the item was on previously when I was out of town, but during the workshops, that is possible. Each of them entails a little bit of a different thing, but yes, if you approved, for example, the IT reorg now, it would be carried forwarded into next year's organization.
Okay, and then when we did have that presentation, and I'm sorry you weren't here, but I think we probably have it on tape, the justifications for doing the increases now, mid-year, was based on a rebate they were getting back from insurance, that we had in each department a certain amount of money coming back, and that could make up that flow. The issue that, and I'll say I had and brought up, was that was non-reoccurring revenue.
Correct.
And how can we haven't budgeted for that for next year, so there's no guarantee that was in the budget for next year. And I realize that you don't have to apparently go by the budget. You know, we can pass it and you can mix that around. But my issue was more non-reoccurring funds being used for increases now versus somebody saying we have, based on operational savings, the amount of money to put in so that we know that we have that moving forward. Because I think if I'm not mistaken, that insurance is really going somewhere else, the rebate. It's not going towards salaries.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I apologize if there was any confusion or mischaracterization about the insurance rebate. And my recommendation, again, Councilman Ratzik's correct that it's fund-based. So the money goes into the general fund pot. Certainly an insurance rebate on health insurance savings is not to be considered a recurring revenue. I had tied that more to the settlement of litigation, which is also a non-recurring expense. The absorption of the reorganization in IT along with the fire department salaries could be accommodated within their existing operating budget without transferring between.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify that. Mr. Radzik?
One clarification.
Yes.
Mr. Hine, when you said that if we were not to do this now, that it would move forward, you're talking, in fact, that the fund balance reserve in excess of what we need would be moved forward, including this $20,000 to be allocated.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I want to make sure I'm clear, a couple of points. One is the mid-year budget amendment is required because we're actually exceeding the budget because we're receiving more revenue than we anticipated. And when you receive more revenue, especially in the general fund, you have to have a corresponding increase in your general fund reserve per your policies and practices. What I'm saying is if you increase the salary of any employee through an action like a fire chief, that is obviously going to be carried forwarded next year in their operating budget.
And again, something to be keenly aware of. And finance is here. They can back me up, or they can shoot me down. At the end of September of every year, we think that our revenues are X, when in fact, before November the 30th, we typically will receive more money for the 1 cent sales tax from the state. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I can probably answer it and they can correct me if I'm mistaken. But yes, not only do we typically have a mid-year, but we have a year-end budget amendment, which occurs after October 1st, because you start getting audited numbers and other actual numbers for the year-end.
So what happens with that money is that it goes into fund balance reserve because it's already been passed. This year, right now, I have that money that was received after the budget that we can use along with some other savings or otherwise.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, again, those internal to the department operating changes could be absorbed within those departments.
But my point is that that is not necessarily non-recurring revenues, but that is additional revenues that belong in the budget year but being amended now. It's additional monies that came in that's not part of the September 30th year end because we didn't have access to that, and it goes into the next budget year.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and I appreciate Councilman Radzik's keen appreciation and knowledge of fund accounting, but I wouldn't necessarily state it that way. What I'm saying again is in a mid-year budget adjustment, we're receiving more revenues, FDOT, and I have to mention that too, I apologize. So we receive $800,000 from FDOT. We didn't anticipate. The mid-year budget amendment recommends that $500,000 of that be allocated and earmarked toward the train depot, since it's a non-recurring revenue. And the rest goes into a pot for neighborhood street repair, slurry seal overlay. We, as you heard, had a modest $200 and some thousand rebate from our health insurance pool carrier. That money I would allocate toward a non-recurring expense, the litigation settlement. And then we had the $2 million appropriation, which will go in the special revenue funds towards the construction of the Sampy Road wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, are we clear on reoccurring and non-reoccurring? Thank you. Ms.
Mr. Hine, would you please briefly give us the three choices again, the three choices that are up for consideration?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, in my opinion, you can move forward as was originally proposed, adopting the ordinances presented before you and directing staff to come back with a resolution at the next meeting to consider those separately. You could amend the motion and include a directive to amend this ordinance to include those adjustments now, or you could direct staff to wait until October 1st, but make it clear on the record that you want those incorporated in the next fiscal year.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have an amended motion that hasn't been acted on yet.
Do we have a second?
Mike, I'm sorry, Mike, would you restate your amended motion, please?
My amended motion was simple, and that was to include the $20,000 as part of this amendment and not part of a resolution. It should be part of this amendment.
I'm good with seconding that.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Now we'll start discussion again. Thank you. Amy Jo?
I'm good.
Blake?
Well, I think it kind of pulls it all home, and we can put some closure to it rather than continuing to kick the can down the road. So I think that might make more sense that we go ahead and wrap it up tonight.
Mr. Redzi?
I think I said enough.
I'm good with the 20K.
But it's just for this individual fire, right? Or are you saying we're going back to the original and expanding head count and everything else?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, unless corrected, I understand 20,000 would only accommodate the modest adjustment for the fire for the remainder of this fiscal year.
So should your amended motion put in just for the fire, please?
If that's what you want, I have no problem amending my motion again to specify that the $20,000 is to be used for the command staff, and only that.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right. Anything further? I have no discussion on that. So any public comment?
Public comment, please?
Keith Breedlove.
Keith Breedlove, 154 Balmy Coast Road. And just listening to this discussion, it sounds like $20,000 is going to be allocated for some increases for the fire department. I also heard a mention of plopping money into the general fund. I hope that doesn't happen. The city doesn't have a really good track record with money supposedly being earmarked for something that winds up in the general fund, and then it's not there when it's needed. I'm thinking of a fire truck that was put on order, and the money for it evaporated. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. Can we take the vote, please?
Yes. Councilmember Radzik, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Fike?
Aye.
Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gaines?
Aye.
Mayor Kehoe?
Aye. Moving on. Consideration for approval, Resolution 2025-43, setting the maximum not to exceed millage rate. Jenny?
Consider Resolution 2025-43, setting the maximum not to exceed millage rate. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Groveland, Lake County, Florida, adopting a not-to-exceed millage rate of 6.0000, levying of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2025-2026, and setting the date, time, and place of public hearing on the budget for fiscal year 2025-2026, providing for an effective date, whereas the fiscal year 2025-2026 operating proposed millage rate of 6.0000 mils is a 13.86% increase to the current year rolled back rate of 5.2698 mils.
Thank you. We have a consideration for approval, Resolution 2025-43. Do we have a motion to accept? Or to discuss? We have to discuss first.
We can discuss first.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, if it'd be helpful, maybe staff can give a presentation first. As is expressed in the resolution, this is the maximum mill rate. So this isn't setting any final budget. This is not setting next year's tax rate, but rather giving a cap. So there's transparency and a notice that can be provided on trim notices. So every resident can be advised this would be the maximum tax burden next year. The number 6.0, as was Ginny read, the rollback number based on increased valuations would be 5.2 something. Your existing mill rate is and has been for a couple of years 5.5. As we've discussed in budget workshops and personal meetings, at a 5.5, we can probably, not certainly, but probably maintain existing levels of service. There's certainly good news when it comes to budgets with increased values, insurance, rebates and things of that nature, but there's also some negative or pressures on budgets, union contracts, obligations that we've already committed to, health insurance increase, risk liability insurances increase just like anybody else, and those pressures usually outstrip the revenues gained to maintain existing levels of service at 5.5. Many of you in the public have talked about enhanced levels of service, investment in stormwater, streets, trails, sidewalks, conservation initiatives, train depots, other things, extra police officers and enhanced levels of service and code enforcement and other areas. As I expressed, Finance has provided kind of the a la carte to show you what each of those would equate to from a general fund budget impact. If you totaled all of those, which I would not necessarily characterize as a wish list, but rather an articulation of some of the services based on recommendations from staff and voices from the public, I believe that would be 6.3 something, over 6.3 for a mill rate requirement. As a manager who has some experience, I didn't anticipate that that would be palatable, nor did I want to set a false narrative or expectation on a trim notice. So we arbitrarily picked 6.0, again, to set as the ceiling to provide room for your deliberations as you move forward adopting a final budget.
Thank you. Just for everybody's, and for my knowledge, we go back and just say, okay, we're going to set the max rate here, and then we'll have how many meetings before we arrive at a consensus of the council on the budget rate? How many public meetings will we have?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you have, as prescribed in here, a required public hearing, but my guess is there'll be directive based on an iterative conversation we'll all have to have a workshop at minimum before any final budgets are presented.
And the final budget would be September?
The final hearing is September 15th.
September 15th. Thank you very much. Is there a presentation by Finance?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. What we've got here is a proposal for the maximum tentative millage rate. So we'll kind of go through some, maybe, generics. There we go. So here are assumptions for a baseline budget. We have a 13.55 property value increase. This includes, we also have a 4% wage increase for general employees and a 10% wage increase for fire contract. We have a 2.4% increase in the FRS pension. We have a 15%, and these are, and the health is an estimated right now of a 15% health increase and a 10% in vision, dental, and life insurance premium increase. In talking with our general liability, they're talking a maximum of a 10% property and casualty premium increase. The fire fund transfer with the reassessment that was just done on the fire assessment decreased to $284,100. You currently have $700,000 budgeted in the general fund for strategic infrastructure investments. We increased lien revenues from 25 to 75, and then we're also looking at the dispatch county conversion sometime in FY 2026. So for the city of Groveland, the organizational chart currently looks at this. So currently we stand with the budget adjustment that y'all just passed. It only increased by 1 for the utility billing clerk, so it took us to 182. What we are proposing for FY '26 right now is we are proposing to remove the communications, deputy director. We are going to reclass the lien search position, which is currently under community and economic development, which is a part-time person, and we are proposing a city clerk position at a full-time. We are proposing a code enforcement officer under community development, and we are proposing 2 IT tech support positions, which would bring your total of new FTEs for 2026 to 2.5, making a total of 184.5 employees. So here is where we stand right now. So for FY '25, on the left, you see the FY '25 millage rate comparison. You can see Eustis is the highest at 7.5810, and Groveland, I apologize, I should have highlighted Groveland there, I did not, is kind of in the middle of the pack, a little more on the lower end at 5.5, and then you can see the city's historical millage rates. From FY 2016, we went from 5.9 in 2016-17 to 5.2 from 18 to 23, and then 24 and 25 we're at 5.5. So with that, that brings me, so this is, and that's doing that at a 5.5, those are assumptions at a 5.5 millage rate. So for FY '26, and it doesn't show it up there, I apologize, we should have changed that. This is the enhanced version that we're looking at. These are with added items for the council to consider. So hurricane reserves of $500K, it would increase your millage by the 0.1992. A new police officer to unfreeze the officer position would be 0.0444. A public works street and maintenance position, 1, is 0.0234. A public works reorg workflow coordinator is 0.0290. Conservation at 250 is a 0.0996. Road maintenance at 500,000 is 0.1992. Trails at 200,000 is 0.797. Sidewalks at 100,000 is 0.0398, and stormwater at 215 is a 0.0857, which shows you an overall increase of 0.8, which brought us to the 6.3, as Mr. Hines so eloquently put. We knew that that was not something that we wanted to put there, so we came up with the 6.0. So the calendar future dates, we have the, as I know that Mayor Keough asked about additional meetings. Right now, we do not have anything set, but the August 25th will be the CRA budget adoption, and then the first public hearing is on September 3rd, and then the September 15th would be the final public hearing where the budget would be adopted. With that, all for discussion and direction.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, before you proceed, thank you, April, for that excellent presentation. I omitted and forgot to mention that part of what you just acted on the mid-year was to unfreeze 1 police position to fill the SRO position for the new charter school, since the charter school is paying us to fund that position.
Yeah, it was a pass-through, right?
Yeah.
Just, yeah. Thank you. And I neglected, thank you very much, but let me just get a public service announcement here. When a motion on the census is requested, please speak directly into the microphone and state yea or nay. Please be mindful not to turn your head side to side. We've been having problems with getting it recorded, okay? So as we move forward, let's just keep that in mind. Thank you. So we have 2025-43 in front of us. Do we have, and that's a millage rate of 6.0, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, that is a recommendation from staff based on the presentation you just saw. You can set it higher or lower. Again, it is just, it's not adopting anything, but it's setting a marker that then you cannot exceed. So that will be the notice that'll go out in the trim notices. So let's say you set it at 5.6. You cannot adopt anything after this process that's above that maximum mill rate you set tonight. You can go lower, but you cannot go higher.
Okay, and so for the motion, we'd have to put a 6.0 in there, or we just don't have a motion just to set a maximum. We have to say what the maximum is. So it's the staff's suggestion to do a 6.0, so we ought to start from that. And can I get a motion to, on 2025-43, and we can discuss after the motion, setting a maximum not to exceed millage rate of 6.0? Do we have a,
Mr.
do we have a
Mayor?
motion?
Yes.
We have a motion. Go ahead.
Okay, I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2025-43, setting the maximum not to exceed millage rate of 6.0.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, so we can get to
And we have
discussion.
a second. Now I'll open it for
Sorry,
discussion.
Mayor, I just need to interrupt for one moment. There's an incorrect year in Section 2 and in 3, as well as an incorrect date in Section 3 for the public hearings. Based on the pamphlet that was handed out, the correct tentative millage and budget hearings is September 3rd, 2025, and the final millage and budget hearing is September 15th, 2025. So if the motion could be amended to include those hearing dates and times.
Madam Vice Mayor, you want to amend your motion to include September 3rd and September 15th as meeting dates?
I would like to amend my motion for the approval of Resolution 2025-43, setting the maximum not to exceed 6% in accordance with the public hearing on 9/3 and 9/15.
Second.
Do we have a second? Okay, discussion, Mr. Radzik?
Actually, Barbara made the motion. She should start us off.
Barbara?
Okay. I have a couple questions regarding a deputy community director. Can somebody talk to me about that? Also, the Public Works reorg for a workflow coordinator. And when I met with you all before individually, I had asked that you all show the amount annually as to what impact that would have on the constituents. Are you all ready to discuss that?
If I can get my, let me give you this. While I'm pulling this up, thank you, I will let Mr. Hine, I think he was going to jump in for the Deputy Communications Director.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, was it Deputy Communications Director you were asking about?
Yes, I believe I saw it on the screen.
Yeah, that position has been vacant for some time and unfilled, and we're recommending elimination.
Oh, elimination, I thought it was recommending addition.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, no, it was a decrease.
Okay. And how about the workflow coordinator?
So the workflow coordinator, that actually is showing on here. So to reorg that position, the salaries for a workflow coordinator for the year is going to be, would be for salary, benefits, and salary, FICA, and retirement, so benefits, would be $72,750.
And what, in brief, what would that position entail?
What would that position entail?
Yes, what does a flow coordinator do, Mr. Hine? Or
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, I'd respectfully request that you ask us to provide you with written memorandum regarding such. It would not alter the overall budget. Again, if you look at the cumulative of the enhanced value or the enhanced version, I understand that there was some concern voiced over that specific addition in personnel, so I will have staff satisfy me and you all with a written communication.
because I'd be very interested in what those duties are at the grand total of 72,000 plus. Thank you. And now can you talk to me about the millage? I mean, the amount of dollars and how that impacts the constituents?
That is one.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, are you asking again about the workflow coordinator?
No.
Okay.
No, this is something that I had discussed with April and Pam and had asked them to show if it's a 5.9, what the dollar amount would be annually. If it was, well, we're only going to 6 point, but if it had, say, for example, had been 6.3, I wanted to know what the dollar variances were.
And yes, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Hine.
Yeah, no, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, if April has that data, but I just want to make sure for clarity and transparency, are you asking for the impact on an average homeowner or the revenue to the city?
The homeowner.
Thank you.
So yes, and I do apologize, you did ask that. I thought that we had included in that, and I am now realizing here that we did not include that in here, and I do apologize for that. Oh, see, my director is very good here, and that would be $180 on an average home. On a 360, for a home that is valued at $360,000, it would be $180 impact.
At 6.0.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
That's yearly, right? That's yearly.
Yes.
Annual.
I have no further questions.
Amy Jo, you have a second?
I just want to be clear, like, this is the ceiling. Every discussion we have, then we can negotiate. We can make it lower, but we can't increase it, correct? Okay. Then I'm
That is
fine.
correct.
We'll go through all the details, I'm sure, in the coming weeks.
Mr. Radzik?
So I'm quite aware about the millage rate, the maximum going down to what it is that we want. However, I can't get behind a 6.0 for the following reasons. I don't believe we need to budget for sidewalks. Let me take that back. That's fine. I don't believe we need to budget money out of our general fund for trails. I don't believe we need to budget for stormwater. I don't believe we need to budget for streets, and I don't believe we need to budget for conservation. I think each one of those can be had through, for instance, trails, streets, and even sidewalks, a mobility fee, a flat-out mobility fee charged to new developers or otherwise. Is that the way you and I had discussed that, TJ, when I was talking about that? Yes. So mobility fee is an option that we should explore and not burden the general fund with those types of projects, although we need them. I'm not saying we don't. I'm just saying there's other sources that I think we can get. conservation. I'm not sure what $250,000 is going to buy us. However, again, that's something that, you know, if we get ahead of it that we didn't last year and get to Tallahassee, I think, Mr. Mayor, during the last visit up there, we set the motion for some conservation money when you talked about Wilson Island. So I think that that is, again, a source of revenue, not to be coming out of the general fund or discretionary monies, something that we can get from other sources of revenue. We talked about, so in there was a hurricane reserve and some other stuff. And again, because this is a fund balance budget, I'm not going to get twisted up with terminology, but I think an overall capital sinking fund is a lot better. And that way, and we're never held to, again, a hurricane reserve anyway, but an overall sinking fund that should be populated or funded year after year after year would be a better idea. But for those reasons, about $1,265,000 of those up there would come out of the millage rate and get funded by other sources. So that's why I can't get behind a 6.0.
Thank you. Ms. Fike?
April, could you go back to the previous slide where you have the bar chart? Yes. So I'm just curious, in 2016 and 2017, we were at a 5.99, and then it dropped dramatically. What caused that to be so high and then drop so dramatically the next, I don't know, 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Councilwoman Fike, I'm not sure April can explain that, as she was not there, nor were I during that period. I think it was just a decision of the mayor and council at that time to reduce the millage rate.
Were any services lost as a result of reducing that millage rate? I don't know, Mike, you were probably on the, yeah, come on, Mike, help me out here. But I'm just curious, it's so dramatic. I'd like some clarity.
So the 5.9 was adopted during the whole period of time where we were having extra exemptions from the state, and we needed to.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, council, the staff has had trouble transcribing the minutes as you get further away from the micro.
So the 5.9 again was a component of the assault on home rule, when they basically had another exemption that they were adding on to it. So we didn't have a choice but to go up in millage rate to 5.99 in order to provide those same services. So that's why it was like that. Now the other thing is, I'm sorry, I bring it up every year. I'm going to bring it up again. I don't like that chart because it's not apples to apples, okay? Mineola doesn't have a police department. We do, and a fire department. Mascot doesn't have a fire department, but we do. So although it says 5.5, which that is statistically correct, you can't even use Leesburg because Leesburg has got a public utility that they're able to take a lot of revenue from the utility fund. So although I appreciate the graphics, one needs to understand, and you're laughing, what that chart means. And again, 5.5 is good, but it's not always comparative.
Thank you for that explanation, Mike.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Ms. Fike?
I'm good.
Okay, I would just, because we're going to debate this to death in the next several months, but I would just like to say that I really wonder where our citizens' heads are at in talking to them. We've talked stormwater downtown since I think the first one was 2003. I just read one from 2013. How badly we need it. We've lost a couple tenants, a restaurant and a gun shop because of issues with water, according to what they said. And it's going to be very hard to turn on the switch when we have the bypass if we don't have the resources to fix it right down there. So I don't know that 250,000 is where we need to be. I do know that it's good to have a few dollars in the bank so we can go out and get some grants, some matching grants. When you can get matching, it's better. So the more that we can put in there over the next couple of years, the better. I love the music to my ears, the sinking fund over here. But we need to really map that out. And of course, to map that out, we need to figure out what downtown is and what's it going to take to figure out what downtown is. Is that in the budget? Because again, we can't wait until the bypass gets done. We have to know now. The mobility is a great idea, but I think that a great way to go to maybe to look at is bonds on these major projects, because that way the citizens vote for it. And if the citizens don't want the stormwater, then we don't get stormwater drains. If they don't want extra parks or trails or conservation, then that comes from them, and that's who we report to, and that's a great way, rather than a survey. That is the ultimate survey, if they vote for the bond issue or not. So I think that we should examine that. That won't happen this year. It can't happen this year. It'll be tough, as we've discussed, to have it by next year, but we very much need to look at that kind of an issue as we're moving forward. And I do know that $250,000 buys a lot of land. You bought it in October. How many acres? 750 acres of wetlands out here that you got for $250,000. So that wasn't a bad investment for $250,000. But
That's only because it connects to your island.
no, it's 2 lakes away, buddy. 2 lakes away. And I donated mine. You know, you should have asked me. I donated the grasslands to the county because you can't use them anyway. So with that said, I would say that really look you all in the eye is 6.0 at the top that we want to go to. I don't see any increase in police except for one at 111,000, and I thought it was 200. Are they going to ride a bike? Or what? Because I remember your presentation, Chief, it was 200,000 for a police officer because of all the amenities they had to go with it. And that's only half a policeman, or?
No, sir, it is not. So when you're looking at that, if you notice next to it, it says unfreeze an officer position. So there is currently 2 positions right now, one of which we're unfreezing with the budget amendment you did. And then the other one would be unfrozen on October 1. So that being the assumption that because it was already a budgeted officer at one time, that they have a vehicle for that, and you would not have to have the purchase of the vehicle and some of those other items, therefore the cost would reduce.
Okay, that right? Okay.
That's a good answer.
Okay, so we have a motion. Now we can open it for public discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I got an additional point. I think I can bring this up because it is money, and we talked about it earlier, and that's the train station. Did we talk about the train station? Okay. So we're putting aside some money for a train station that we don't know what the train station is going to be when it grows up. Okay? I would like to try to get some direction or some sort of consensus. Do we go and get a committee? Does it start with the CRA? Does the CRA the one that needs to commission a committee to see what that's going to be? But I would like that to be part of this 6.0.
I think maybe that's part of our next meeting and next discussion. We get into debate because I think there's a lot of questions about the train station. There's also the question of, do we want 500,000 sitting in a fund somewhere rather than being used? There's a lot of debate that's going to go on within this, the org chart and all this. Right now, we just want to zero in and get the max set so that then the staff can come back and say, okay, this is where we are, and then we can go line by line and talk those things over. Does that sound fair?
That's fine.
Okay.
Public comment.
Public comment?
Courtney Edricks.
Seen him in years.
Have to pull that mic down close to you and state your name and address.
Do I now?
Pull the microphone down, there you go, and state your name and address.
Hello? Oh, there you go. Courtney Entrix, 194 Balmy Coast Road. This millage rate should either stay the same or get lower. You've increased the utility rates for 24-25. It's going up again for 25-26. The new smart meters are reading usage anywhere up to 50% more than the old meters. You're collecting money that you don't know what to do with. So leave the rate at 5.5 or make it lower, and I'll be happy. And one other thing, I'm hearing impaired. When I'm sitting in the back, what you say doesn't come back there. Could you put 2 speakers in the back so I can at least understand what you're saying?
Yes, sir, and I do believe we have it set up for hearing impaired. If you go back and talk to our gentleman at the back, he can
Oh,
help
okay.
you.
Well, let's put it
I'll
this way.
get
It's
you
been
the-
a while since
yeah.
I've been here. The decor is amazing. A matter of fact, it's been years.
Thank you.
Matter of fact, when I used to come up, there used to be, oh, God, here he comes again. So I don't think you should change the millage rate. Leave it as it is or make it lower. You're making money. Come on, give us a break. Especially us old folks on Social Security.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate your input.
Oh, I had more coming.
Okay. Any more?
Not for that item.
That concludes public input.
Okay, sorry. Fred Freschenko? Okay.
Thank you for letting me speak tonight. You guys breaking down the numbers up front, there's a couple numbers that I think are missing.
Name and address, and pull that mic up so we can
I'm
hear
so
you a little
sorry.
better.
581 Blue Cypress, Waterside Point. Been a resident for over 10 years here. The biggest thing that I see is a lot of numbers, but the thing is, how about the growth factor? You're talking like one policeman. When I go down, Village City, I see probably close to 500-600 homes, maybe even more. With the increase of the homes, what are the increase of the police? And I know we're starting to build another fire station, I thought I heard, somewhere out there in the gray area there. But what about the growth and what about the contribution? I love that. Finally, someone says, let the builders do some help. What are they helping? What plan are you guys making? I mean, you're looking at last year's number and making an average growth, but what is really our growth in Groveland? That's kind of what I want to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is that it? Seeing no more public comment, maybe we go ahead and take the roll at 6.0.
Vice Mayor Gaines, how do you vote? Aye. Councilmember Carroll?
Aye.
Councilmember Fike?
Aye.
Councilmember Radzik?
Nay.
Mayor Kehoe?
Aye. Moving on to referendum 25-19, forfeiture of office, first reading.
Consideration of approval referendum ordinance 2025-19, forfeiture of office, first reading, an ordinance of the City of Groveland, County of Lake, State of Florida, providing for amendment of Section 3.06 in Article 3 relating to forfeiture of office, enumerating reasons that permit council to declare a forfeiture of office, set forth a complaint and hearing process for forfeiture of office, providing specifying requisite ballot language for submission to electors, requesting the supervisor elections to place the ballot language on the ballot for the November 4th, 2025 general election, providing for severability and conflicts, providing for inclusion in the charter, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to accept 2025-19?
Can we discuss?
What's that?
Can we discuss first?
We can, or usually we discuss after the motion, and you can amend, but go, if we would make a motion to discuss.
I make a motion to discuss 2025-19.
I second.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Amy Jo?
Do we have the ballot language that would be, like, the question?
Yes.
Sorry.
The question is, the title would read, enumerating reasons and a process that permit council to declare a council member's forfeiture of office. And the question is, should the charter be amended to provide that a council member may forfeit office for reasons listed in the charter, including lacks qualification to hold office, violates any express prohibition of the charter, is convicted of a felony or criminal misdemeanor, or fails to attend 4 consecutive regular meetings without being excused by the council, such forfeiture to be declared by the remaining members of council after receipt of a written complaint and a public hearing.
Thank you. I just want to read it. I'm not in favor of like zero tolerance kind of policies. They leave little room for discernment. Like, you can't, it leaves you no options. And I don't believe any one thing is treated the same as other things. I'm a little hesitant on this, although I think we do need some sort of path. I'm not sure if this is specific enough. That's my concern.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to see the verbiage added, misuse of social media platforms to incite violence, promote misinformation, or undermine public trust.
Ms. Fike?
Thank you. Good evening. So I'm here tonight not to revisit the past, but to draw attention to what's unfolding right now, because it deserves every resident's awareness. In just a few weeks, this council will ask the voters of Groveland to approve a charter amendment that sets a dangerous precedent, allowing this council to overturn the will of the voters. This amendment would give a supermajority of council members the permanent power to remove one of their own, not through the courts, not through the governor, and not by a vote of the people. Just 4 people in a room deciding who stays and who goes. Why is this being passed? The mayor is upset right now that he's struggling to get his buddies on this council, and he's struggling to silence a critic. The courts have ruled the mayor and the council do not have the power to remove someone from office. But he wants this power to remove people from office, even though the role of mayor is ceremonial. So I wonder, does the mayor want his council to become a kangaroo court holding hearings whenever a citizen wants? He's already suggested spending $700 an hour on just one investigation. How much of your tax dollars does the mayor want to spend on these types of investigations in the future? The ordinance calls for a hearing every time a citizen alleges a charter violation, regardless of any proof of evidence, and 4 votes will require a hearing. Let's show you how odd this is. For instance, a resident of Groveland, and I'm appalled at how the mayor's campaign consultant has billed the city for close to $1,740 since May. No purchase order, no contract, no scope of work, just invoices for payment. I don't know if this is an express violation of the interference with administration clause of the charter or not, but it raises questions because while working for the city, the mayor's campaign consultant is also working on the campaign for the mayor's buddy for this seat. And he used the city hall address to send out politically charged materials to the newspapers. I'm not sure who ordered this. Did the mayor order it? I don't know. Who authorized the man to be paid by the city? It's just an allegation that will require the city council to hold a hearing. Think about this. How many times does someone who is upset with the city, how many times will they come forward and allege something, forcing us to have a hearing? Our city council meeting could become one hearing after another, grinding the business of the city to a halt, and we're close to that precipice now. This ordinance doesn't disclose what that hearing looks like. Does it follow the rules of every other public hearing with public comment for every allegation? Are we required to hear both sides of the allegation? Is a vote required for every allegation? How much city staff time is required to investigate the initial hearing, and how many times do we have a hearing on the same subject? The amendment is rushed. I'm not sure that it was reviewed by the Charter Review Committee. In fact, I'm sure it wasn't. And I'm not sure that it was truly reviewed by anyone before it was placed on our agenda so hastily. I mean, the way I read this, if someone wanted to allege 100 express violations of the city charter, we would be forced to have 100 hearings at the city council meetings, regardless of whether there's any evidence provided. The amendment doesn't fix a law, it creates a lot more flaws. Or excuse me, it doesn't fix a flaw, it creates a lot more flaws. I want to make sure I got my words correct. It bypasses voters, removes legal checks, and concentrates political power in the hands of a few. That's not oversight, that's not accountability, that's power unchecked and permanent. We can disagree on policy, but we should all agree on one thing: no group of four should ever have the power to overturn an election. I respectfully ask the council to pause this process, let the public understand what's really at stake, because Groveland deserves transparency, not a rush to rewrite the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, we'll have public comment in just a second. Mr. Radzik?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to take you down a history of charter amendments. We have a long history of charter amendments. Some were rushed through without vetting and needed to be clarified later, including back in 2006 or 7. We had an election where our youngest mayor at the time was elected with 7 votes. Shortly after he was elected, the city didn't like the fact that he was elected because he didn't live in the city for more than a couple of months. He was a business owner. So we rushed through an amendment that said, should a resident live in the city limits for 2 years as of the qualifying date before they could run for mayor, run for council? What was wrong with that statement? Qualifying date. What did that mean? Qualifying date for me and Ms. Fike this year was, way back when, September 1st. But a qualifying date for 1, 3, and 5 was usually tied to when the county had a qualifying date. A little bit of unfairness there in that someone couldn't run, which would have been able to had they had a specific date. So that could change now to like June 15th, whatever. My point is, we had another amendment that was rushed and wasn't vetted because one of our council members decided he couldn't run because we went to districting. So what did he do? He rushed and he got an apartment where he rented the Days Inn up on Route 27 and ran for District 4. And he lived there because he got his mail delivered there. But again, it was an amendment that was not vetted very, very, very good. We've had an amendment where we went and did primaries because we had 3 people qualifying, and it turns out that one of them wasn't supposed to qualify. But again, that one may have been the one that made the most sense. I already had mentioned that I do not believe that this amendment or any amendments that are being proposed should be on this year's ballot. There's only 2/5 of the city that you can depend on, maybe 25% of the entire city, maybe. So we're going to let 25% of the city determine any one of these charter amendments. That's not fair and representative. I also believe that, again, this should all be for next year's election, not this year. I also have a problem with this being a little bit of more or less knee-jerk reactions. And I'm concerned with that, because let's talk about some things that are not possibly part of the process. Let's talk about, for instance, and I'm going to the Code of Ethics, let's talk about how the city council conducts with boards, committees, and commissions. We basically put that together as a board, and we were putting in here, they needs to be careful to only express personal opinions. Well, I got the minutes of one of the meetings, and not once did a council member express that this was their own personal opinion. Does that belong as part of our removal guidelines? The fact that 5 of us appointed a board and 1 person is giving direction, should that be some grounds for removal? Should it be where someone who's given direction, whoever it may be, to the staff, when that is found out, should that be an area for someone to be removed? My point is that there is way too many issues that really need to be vetted that we're not vetting, and with those reasons, I'm not sure I can get behind this amendment as is, but would definitely want to see it workshopped and talked about more.
Mayor, I have a question, if I can.
Sure.
It's mostly for you, because you brought this up. Is there a precedence for this? Like, do other cities have this in their charter?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure they do. The one that I read last time was from the DeBerry.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Now, if I can, can I comment? I haven't done my
Absolutely.
comment yet, and I'll come back around. And I think it's important to say that if there's any violation, they should come before, if you think that there's a violation. But I would say that this past issue came before all of us. We, as a board, passed that there should be a suspension, okay? Maybe you didn't like it, I don't know, but then it was overturned on the 17th, that was on the 9th of July, it was overturned on the 17th after some of the federal things were pulled back on the 11th. The court found the charter does not authorize a suspension. That was the key. And the city's ethics policy does not provide for the type of suspension. So therefore, the ethics or the code of conduct was held powerless, even though we all signed it and we all swore that we were going to follow it. So that was an issue. I brought this before everybody because on the ballot, and we've got to bring it up for a vote, is 4-year terms. And I stated, I cannot in good conscience vote for a 4-year term without some way of the citizens getting with their district representatives and have a removal process. All of us report to them, and if we make a mistake, they'll make us pay. But if we're out doing things that, and I won't go into the specifics, but that in our code of conduct are covered as something that should not be done, then we should, in my opinion, have some way to have teeth in that code of conduct. This was not a fly-by-night. There are several, you can look them up. The judge, we didn't have what other cities have. I just went to DeBerry and pulled theirs out, asked our attorney to go ahead and craft it to the words that need to be done. So I don't think it's a fly-by-night. And I don't understand the muddying of the waters on committees and who's hiring somebody. That's the only man that hires anybody. None of us have the ability to hire anybody. So I don't know where that comes from. I don't know.
I asked.
No, not you, right there.
Oh, okay.
And then the whole thing about influencing staff to do something, there's not one time that I've come this close that man right there hasn't said no. Or gave me a call and said, please, on that kind of thing, come back through me. So if there is, I'm not here saying that anybody's immune. Nobody's immune. If you have a problem, bring it forward, and this same group can handle it. Because there's trust that has to be in the citizens' hands. There has to be a methodology to maintain that trust. There has to be some check and balance to keep that trust. So this has nobody's name on it. This is just a correction in the charter as outlined by what we didn't have that kept us from legally moving forward. Is there other avenues? Sure, there's censures. There's other avenues already in the charter, but there was no way, and hey, shame on me. You know, I thought that the code of conduct held water, and shame on me, and I apologize for the 9 days of 8 days of turmoil. But now we have to do two things: correct this, and then in our upcoming meetings, correct the selection process when a vacancy occurs to make sure we have good vetting of people that aren't elected. Okay, now we'll go back around. We'll go back around.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, you first? Yes.
I will ask the city attorney before I speak on what I want to talk about. Isn't there a written word where we will not individually attack pretty much one another up here?
That's listed on the front of your agenda under Pledge of Conduct.
We may disagree, but we will be respectful of one another. We will direct all comments to issues. We will avoid personal attacks. Audience members wishing to speak must be recognized by the mayor. And last but not least, speaking without being recognized will be considered out of order. I want to get back to, we will avoid personal attacks. And I believe that I heard the mayor's name several times, which, in my opinion, there were some personal attacks there. So if we are all going to be following the rules, then let's follow the rules. And let's call a spade, because I remember Councilwoman Fikes stating that she would be, that she wanted an investigation. So now you take that and you twist it, not you, let me go back. And it appears to have been twisted and turned. So it's like what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But I do think that it was incorrect to single out the mayor when we specifically say here on this paper, we will not do personal attacks.
Thank you.
So back to other cities having this in their charter. Do they get tied up with tons of investigations for having that in their charter?
Not to my knowledge.
I'm just going on what you said. And then back to the four things that were specifically cited in that, missing 4 more consecutive meetings, being convicted of a felony or misdemeanor, violating any express prohibition of the charter. I don't see a problem with those 3. Lacks qualifications seems very vague. That could be taken a lot of ways. Who's to decide what qualifications specifically you should have to be on council besides the voters? I think.
Yeah, that's in our current charter.
Is it currently? Okay.
It is. It's not a new thing. It's just adding this
We're
phrase.
adding.
It's pretty much our same charter with the phrase added that we were supposed to add.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Fike?
Vice Mayor Gaines, I was not attacking the mayor. I was just pointing out some facts of things that happened. So I appreciate your words very much, but certainly not meant as an attack. Thank you very much.
Please, Mr. Radzik.
Amy Jo, if I may. Qualification was actually something that we had used to disqualify somebody because they lacked qualification to run and hold a seat because of having a criminal past.
So is the qualification specifically what we have to do to qualify to run? Is that what and then we found out that was a lie or something? Okay,
Right.
perfect.
Years
Thank you.
or whatever the case may be. So
That
that is
clears that
where
up.
the qualification language was used a couple years back.
That makes sense.
But with that said, I do not have any problem, Mr. Mayor, with regards to better language in the Code of Ethics. Okay? I mean, again, this Code of Ethics was put together specifically for a committee that was having a lot of problems back in 2017 or whatever. I'm not sure this ever was intended, and I'm saying I'm not sure, for council, since the charter was more or less what was the governing document with regards to someone being held accountable. And by the way, there is a mechanism, and I don't like it, but it is a better mechanism, and it's called a recall. And it's a lot easier to recall seats 2, 3, 4, and 5 than it was when it was an entire city that you needed to get 10% of signatures and then 20%. So again, there is a mechanism. It is a non-political mechanism in that it's not the 5 of us, it is the residents, like you've mentioned before, that they are our bosses. So that is a much better avenue, in my opinion. And I also agree that there should be language in the charter. I'm just not prepared to go ahead and approve anything now. I would like to see some more vetting. I'd like to see a little bit more. Maybe the Code of Ethics needs to be revamped a little bit more, but I'm not ready to do it now for those reasons.
Okay, thank you. This isn't a thing on the Code of Ethics, it's the charter. So the charter is the Constitution, like the Constitution of the United States. Under that, you have the Bill of Rights and all that kind of stuff. It's not the Constitution. We'll get into more specifics, and I do think we need a Code of Ethics. I do think that we all sign the Code of Ethics because it keeps us really grounded on what we can do and what we can't, or what we shouldn't. But I could go on for ad nauseum about, investigations and if we're going to do one or not. I think we're waiting on it. We'll know at the next meeting if we're going to continue on with that. But this is for this charter and this charter only. We can open up the Code of Ethics and go back line by line and take that into consideration. But we can do that, but then we still have no mechanism to enforce it. And we just learned that. We had a Code of Ethics, we took action, and it was not enforceable. So with a simple statement in here to allow us to have that enforceability, I think that's important, and it's important now. And it should be important to anybody bringing up things that they think are unethical so that anybody up here can answer to those issues, and there'll be some way for them and to be reprimanded, censured, or moved out, depending on the severity of the issue. So with that, I would like to go ahead and open it up for public comment.
We don't have a motion yet.
Oh,
do
we had a motion
Do we
to
have a motion?
discuss, so we can open it up for
Okay,
the public to
I'm sorry.
discuss.
I'm sorry.
Matthew Bauman, 1122 Imperial Eagle Street, Groveland, Florida. There's been a lot of good discussion, and I agree with many of the council members, specifically Council Member Carroll, Radzik, and Fike. I'm not inherently opposed to having language in the charter that deals with this. I'm more concerned about the rapidity with which this is being put on the ballot without proper vetting, without proper public input. And I realize this is a public meeting, but it's hard to make a change tonight that you can bring back because I think we're approaching deadlines. I think it should be at least spoken about at a workshop at the very least before it's put on the ballot. And I also concur that it would be better to put on a year where a higher turnout is expected as well. I also agree that there is already a mechanism for removing, and it is the recall, as Councilmember Radzik had spoken to, and that is the ultimate decision by the people, whether they want that person to be in or out. So we're not without options, though if this does go forward, I do think it should remain a supermajority and should be a very difficult thing for a council to remove another sitting member. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Courtney Etricks.
Courtney Entrix, 194 Balmy Coast Road, retired project manager, estimator, engineer in the electrical industry. I only deal with verifiable facts. I don't like Judith, but I also don't like red lights, but I always stop. I have preliminary documentation detailing interactions from 2025, April and May, to 2025, July 4th through 6th, among Mayor Key, Mr. Fudge, Michael Jacob, Stephen Zikoski, City Attorney Garcia, which I'd like to ask, did you recommend not to proceed with the thing? Can I ask her that?
You have to ask me, and I'll ask her.
Well, then I'll leave it in. Okay. Vice Mayor Gaines, reporter Sharon Cable, Gene Easterbird of Facebook Groups Keeping, and Councilwoman Carroll. Prior to July 7, 2025, when the council voted to suspend Councilwoman Fike based on unverifiable materials, with Councilwoman Carroll admitting she never read the evidence. When I'm satisfied that I have gotten as much as I can, I will be sending this information to the supervisor of elections, requesting not to replace this ballot language on the ballot of November 25, as I perceive this legislation as a backdoor attempt to persecute an individual who verbalized thoughts that did not result in physical harm to another human being. This is a promise from this red nigger who was not white enough for whites, nor black enough for blacks, and was profiled by both, and whose skin turns red when hit. I respectfully request that this comment be included in the minutes of the meeting in compliance with the Robert's Rules of Order, Division 2. I have copies here for the council, the city manager, the city attorney, and the clerk. And how do I get it distributed?
The clerk. To the clerk.
City manager is going to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Breedlove.
Keith Breedlove, 154 Balmy Coast. First off, I think this should go on the ballot. It should be up to us, the voters, as to whether or not we want to accept this. We've seen in the past, there have already been allusions to it, of occasions where someone who was found to not be qualified after the election, the will of the voters, there was no way to remove him. And even though some of us wanted the council to, we had gridlock for 2 years. There needs to be a way to overcome that. I don't think that we need to focus too much with a 5-member council on a supermajority. I'm happy with just, best 3 out of 5 on it. Also, just because someone, a charge is levied against someone, whether it be from the public or something that happened that the council itself became aware of, that doesn't mean that all 5 of you or 3 of you or whatever are going to necessarily agree that that's the case. I would think that if it were something that was pretty obviously trivial or a misunderstanding or something like that, that you could just handle it and just vote no. You don't suspend the individual, you don't vote them out or whatever. But we do have a representative government. I'm fine with having the council make those decisions. I don't want to see it brought up to the whole city necessarily, just because of the disruption that causes in trying, and also the expense of running a citywide election. As far as the referendum being offered this year, where we'll maybe have 25% turnout because it's an odd year, there is some validity to that. I think that's the situation we're in. Let's go ahead and go with it. Change the charter to include things like this. If you think that a council member should be kicked off the council and you definitely want it put before the voters, have that as a citywide election. Have referenda as a citywide election, no matter when it comes, when you decide to put it on the ballot. That's easy enough to modify, the ballots and so forth. So anyway, districts 2 and 4 wouldn't be voting for districts 1, 2, and 3, or well, rather 2 and 3, if it was a 2 and 3 issue about council members, being elected, but could vote whether or not someone, on a particular referendum. I realize I haven't stated that very well, but I think you probably understand where I'm going to. But leave it up to us, to the voters, to decide. And as far as doing it if you agree to it now, there's still, almost 3 months or so before the election. That's plenty of time to get the word out for people to decide thumbs up or thumbs down. Remember, we do secret votes here. So, thank you.
Thank you. And just so that we're clear, this is a citywide election that's coming up. It's not just 2 districts. We have county charter. We have a lot of things coming down the pike from the county that are going to be very emotional. And so to think that nobody else can vote, they can. It's open across the board. Okay. I don't know about, is there more public input? I don't know about recall, but if recall is 10% and only 5 people voted, what does that mean? I mean, when somebody's appointed, they're not elected by the whole district. They're voted by just 5 people. But we'll just move on. I'm just saying, to be clear, last time, sir, it was based on an article in the Groveland Sun or Claremont Sun that came out. The discussion wasn't about a lot of the content. It was about hacked, changed. It was about some truthfulness that went on there, and I stated that at that particular time that was the violation, because it did pull in some of our employees as well because of the IT department. So that is where I stand. All I'm saying, no names on this, just if we go back and want to do the ethics, code of ethics over again, it's not worth the paper it's written on unless we have the sentence in this document, and all we're doing is putting that sentence in. Everything else, the 4 areas and stuff, are already there and have been there. So with that, we have closed public comment. We'll go ahead and call the roll.
You need a
Oh, we
motion.
make a motion. Yeah, we don't have to roll call for discussion.
You ready? I make a motion to accept ordinance 2025-19.
I second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Amy Jo, any more comment?
I just want to say I do kind of agree with Mr. Breedlove, and just let the voters decide. It's their document. It's not ours. We don't own it.
Yes, Mayor.
No comment.
Ms. Fike?
Further comment? I have plenty, but I'll let it ride tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Radzik?
For the record and for clarification, the reason that the Code of Ethics was brought up by me is because at the first meeting, there was the charter and the removal, and the Code of Ethics was attached to that. So this Code of Ethics was tied to this whole issue, and that is why I bring it up. And if that was tied to it then, it should also be tied to it now. And if we're going to have a mechanism, then I believe it needs to be a little bit more of substance and not just the 4 or 5 items. It needs to take into consideration, again, respecting the boards or addressing the boards, making sure it's personal, making sure that, we're not overstepping our bounds. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying that this code of ethics was brought up and in the package when this was brought up.
Thank you. This is on the charter, though.
I understand that, but you tied it to this. You tied this whole thing to this when you first wanted, and you could not remove her.
Yeah, we're not talking about her, we're talking about the charter.
I understand that, but
Okay.
this is the way that it came up.
And so we will move forward. I have no further comment that I haven't already said, so let's go ahead and call the vote.
Councilmember Carroll, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gaines?
Aye.
Councilmember Fike?
No.
Councilmember Radzik?
Not this year.
Mayor Kehoe?
Yes, aye. Okay, moving on to item 4. See if I can get the page. Consideration of approval referendum ordinance 2025-13, mayor and council member term limits and 4-year terms of office. Second reading.
Consider referendum ordinance 2025-13, mayor and council member term limits and 4-year terms of office, second reading. An ordinance of the City of Groveland, County of Lake, State of Florida, providing for amendment of the City of Groveland Charter, amending Section 3.03 and Section 3.06E in Article 3 to provide for 4-year terms of office for council rather than 2-year terms of office, while imposing term limits and defining the word term for the purpose of determining term limits, providing specifying requisite ballot language for submission to electors, requesting the supervisor elections to place the ballot language on the ballot for the November 4th, 2025 general election, providing for severability and conflicts, providing for inclusion in the charter, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to accept 2025-13?
I'll motion to accept 2025-13.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Amy Jo, do you have a comment?
I have some reservations about putting this on the ballot if the other one's, like if one passes and not the other. I do feel like they kind of go hand in hand, but again, I'm going to stand by, let the residents decide.
Thank you.
No comment.
No comment. Ms. Fike?
I was unable to be involved in the discussion on this because I'd been unlawfully suspended, so I have no comments.
Okay. All right. Mr. Radzik?
Yeah, can somebody explain to me how this affects seats 2 and 4 after, or should this get approved, and how does it affect future terms for 1, 3, and 5?
So those, someone elected to districts 2 and 4 at the 2027 election will serve an interim 1-year term. And then when the election is held in 2028, at that time, those 2 seats would go to 4 years. For seats or districts 1, 3, and 5, that election will be held in 2026 as always, and so it's those 4 years. They always have the 4-year terms.
So that's a little bit of a concern, is that seats 2 and 4 are going to seat for 1 year, which is a little bit unfair when you're looking at seats 1, 3, and 5. Now, if I was looking at it from my own personal perspective, I'd really be upset. But I don't plan on sitting here in 2027. I would like to see us get something fair for post. So how do we make that better? And because it's just, again, 1 year.
Right, Ms. Fike? Any comment?
I do kind of agree with Mike that perhaps there should have been some provision to move it forward and change the timing on it. This has been the same conundrum every time this comes up, that whoever is being elected at the time that it goes to a 4-year vote, they're then held to 1 year as it goes in. So yeah, I agree with Mike. It's very concerning for the citizens that are out there and they're looking to elect a representative and they're being short-sheeted.
I have a quick one. Does that 1-year term count as a term towards their term limit, or do the term limits for 2 and 4 start after that? Because I think that's the biggest concern I have, if that 1-year term counts as a whole term. Yes, it would. Is there a way to modify the language so the 1-year term does not count as an equivalent of a 4-year term?
Yes, and, I mean, anything can be rewritten. I would have to bring that back. The Charter Committee looked at an interim of 1-year term and an interim of a 3-year term. The interim 1-year term got the city on a cycle quicker of the 4-year terms without having to pay for an additional election. So I think that was and I think we may have also looked at a 5-year. But if the direction is to not include that as a term for provisions of the term limit, then I would have to redraft some language.
So I'm trying to do the math in my head. If we did 3 instead of 1, we'd still be on the right cycle, right? From that point on? Because 1 year was to get, it's back to what your big concern is about off-year elections, to always have it on a on-year, either a presidential or a House of Representatives kind of election. And the 4-year term was to solve that. So
In looking actually at the years, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mayor, in looking at it, so a 3-year term in 27 would get you to 2030, and the problem with that is then you have those seats being elected in the same year as districts 1, 3, and 5. So you wouldn't have that staggered term. So that's what we must have looked at, the 1-year interim, or it would have to be a 5-year interim. So that was the balance.
I get it, I get it.
Unless you wanted to work it in over a longer period of time.
Discussion?
So, again, for any prospective candidate to run for 1 year, I'm not sure what type of a pool you're going to get for 1 year, because again, it's pretty costly. I'm sorry, I didn't really grasp everything. If we were to go ahead and do this next year, does that mean that 1, 3, and 5 would get a 3-year term, but we would still be off because of...
Be off, it has to be 1 or 5, right? So 5, and it's just discussing it. I'm not on the 1-year term not being long enough. I'm on the cost of campaigning, the cost of getting into office is probably not going to get us a lot of people that are going to run on a 1-year term. You know, we'll probably not get to that.
Campaigning can be super cheap.
What's that?
Said campaigning can be super cheap.
Yes, it can. I mean, if you're like you, but if you're like me, it's...
But 5 years is too long.
But 5, we have to figure this out. Every year we're saying off years, you know, aren't right, and we have to, it's 1 or 5. So that's the discussion. Or we just stay at 2, and then we continue on with the same issues we have now. Yes, sir. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is clearly a legislative decision that doesn't have any staff involvement, but may I ask Anita a question? Anita, could you just simply specify that for the purposes of this section, anyone who serves 1-year terms, it will not be accounted against their term limit?
I think that's the biggest concern I have.
Yeah, I mean, that can be changed. I would just have to bring language back. They just got into a deeper discussion of whether 1 or 5, but yeah, I mean, if the only issue that you have concerns with is the 1 year being counted towards the term limits, then I can adjust language and bring back to you at the next meeting.
Can I modify my motion? Make a motion to accept 2025-13 with the addition that the 1 year in office for 2 and 4 does not count as a term.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, public comment?
Courtney Ettricks.
Courtney Trix, 194 Balmy Coast Road. On the advice of my father, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Matthew Bauman.
Matthew Bauman, 1122 Imperial Eagle Street, Groveland, Florida. I've said it at a previous meeting, and I'm going to reiterate it tonight. I think if it's good enough for Congress, it's good enough for our town, and I'm a strong proponent of 2-year terms. We talk a lot about giving the voice to the people. I say give it to them every 2 years. Thank you.
Stephen Shokowski.
Stephen Shulkovsky, 3041 Sunscape Terrace. The city manager kind of took away my thunder because what he mentioned was, I believe, Anita, and I'll speak through our mayor. I believe what the majority, and I believe it was unanimous, was for term limits and then 4-year terms with 2 and 4 serving 1-year term that didn't add into the term limit. So he kind of stole my thunder. So thank you all.
Thank you. And you were on that committee, correct? You're speaking from the committee?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the public comment. Oh,
Write faster.
Keith Breedlove, 154 Balmy Coast Road. Like I mentioned at least a couple of these meetings now, I've done some analysis of this, and I have a suggestion. Make them all 3 years and have the mayor be elected alone from any of the other council members, because what happens that way, when you have 3 years staggering over maybe a 9 or 12-year period of time, I forget what it is, you have, it sort of equals out odd year elections, congressional elections, presidential elections, being the draws that they are, or lack of a draw. So it evens that out over time. That's just a suggestion rather than a 4-year, although the 4-year is the next best.
thank you.
Oh, excuse me, one other question I have, though, I haven't heard. What would be the limit on the number of terms?
2 terms. I
Okay,
believe
2
that-
terms,
That's the way I read
okay.
it.
I hadn't heard that stated anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all the public comment. Can we take the roll, please?
Yes, Councilmember Carroll, how do you vote?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gaines?
Aye.
Councilmember Fike?
No.
Councilmember Radzik?
No, because I don't think that it's fair to someone that would run in 2027.
Eric Kehoe?
Aye. So passes. Special meeting, no public comment, right? Okay, that concludes the special meeting for this evening. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Hoorah.